You've been told your entire life to find yourself. But what if there's nothing to find? What if the self you've been chasing was never real to begin with? You wake up every morning thinking there's a solid I behind the eyes. You say, I'm angry, I'm happy, I'm afraid. But have you ever stopped and asked, who is saying it? If you look close enough, if you dive beneath the surface of thought, you'll find something unsettling. There's no one there, just thoughts, appearing and disappearing like waves. For centuries, philosophers and mystics have whispered the same terrifying truth. The self is an illusion. But no one exposed that illusion more clearly than David Hume. In the quiet of the 18th century, Hume turned his mind inward, determined to discover who he truly was. He peeled back his sensations, his memories, his beliefs, layer by layer, and what he found shook him to his core. When I enter most intimately into what I call myself, he wrote, I never can catch myself without a perception, never can observe anything but the perception. In other words, whenever he tried to find himself, he found only experiences. No thinker behind the thought, no watcher behind the eyes, just the flickering of moments, constantly changing. He called it the bundle theory. The idea that what we call the self is nothing more than a bundle of perceptions, connected by memory and habit, not by an actual entity. You are a collection of moments tied together by the fragile thread of recollection. You remember yesterday and imagine tomorrow, and that illusion of continuity becomes you. But strip it away, and there's no unchanging core, no permanent identity. Just awareness, flowing endlessly, pretending to be someone. It's an idea that sounds abstract until you experience it. Because when the illusion cracks, even for a moment, it's terrifying. When people meditate deeply or fall into existential crisis or even experience ego death on psychedelics, they sometimes report the same thing, a sense that they have dissolved, that there's awareness but no owner of it. They say, I realized I wasn't real. That realization can feel like death, because in a way, it is. Your ego, that constant inner narrator, the voice that says, this is me, is a storytelling machine. It takes random fragments of experience and weaves them into a narrative, a character, a self. But that story isn't truth. It's strategy. It's how the brain keeps chaos in check. Without a self-story, the mind feels lost, so it invents one. A hero, a victim, a dreamer, a doer. Whatever makes sense of the noise. Modern neuroscience has started catching up with Hume. Brain scans reveal there is no single self-center in the brain, no seat of identity, just different regions lighting up depending on what you're doing or feeling. Your sense of being you is a hallucination the brain maintains to coordinate experience. Even your sense of agency, the feeling that you decided to act, is delayed. Your brain makes decisions milliseconds before you're even conscious of them. By the time you think, I chose this, the choice was already made. So who's in control? No one. There's movement, thought, sensation, but no captain steering the ship. You are the ocean, not the sailor. And the ocean doesn't need to try to wave, and it just does. This is where things get darker, because once you understand this, you can't unsee it. The self you defend, the identity you polish, the mask you wear for the world, they're all performances. You don't live life. Life happens through you. You don't think thoughts. Thoughts appear, and you call them yours. You don't choose desires. Desires arise and you follow. But here's the paradox. Even though the self is an illusion, the illusion has power. The story of you is what gives shape to the chaos of existence. Without it, the mind collapses into fear. So we cling to our names, our histories, our preferences, the fragile scaffolding that holds the void at bay. That's why people break down when their identity crumbles, after heartbreak, failure, or loss. It's not just the event that hurts, it's the collapse of the story that defined who they were. We say, I don't know who I am anymore. But maybe that's not a problem. Maybe that's the truth trying to reach you. Because if you are just a collection of passing moments, you're not trapped by any of them. You can change, you can evolve, you can let go. When you realize the self is fiction, you're no longer confined by the plot. You become the author. The illusion of self is both a prison and a key. A prison when you believe you must protect it. A key when you see it for what it is, an instrument of creation. Hume didn't claim this realization would make life easier. He simply said it was honest. He looked within and found no eternal soul, no enduring I. Only the dance of impressions and sensations, beautiful, chaotic, alive. He accepted that what we call self is nothing more than a story consciousness tells to keep moving forward. But there's something strangely freeing in that. If the self is an illusion, you're not bound by your past. You're not doomed by your mistakes. You're not limited by the identity you've been told to wear. You can rewrite the story at any moment, because the story was never fixed. You're not one thing, you're the act of becoming. Maybe that's the secret. You don't have to find yourself. You just have to stop clinging to the idea that there's something to find. The you that's watching this right now, it wasn't the same you an hour ago or yesterday or a year before, and that's okay. Because you were never meant to be static. You were meant to flow. Every time you change, every time you shed an old version of yourself, you're not losing anything real. You're simply updating the illusion. And maybe that's what makes existence beautiful. We are fragments pretending to be whole, moments pretending to be eternal, dreams pretending to be real. And yet somehow in that pretending, we find meaning. Maybe that's enough. So the next time you ask, who am I? Look closely. You might not find an answer. You might only find silence. And in that silence, something greater than identity begins to breathe. Because when the illusion fades, what's left isn't emptiness. It's awareness itself. The witness. The pure experience of being. Not as someone, but life unfolding. And maybe that's the truest version of you. The one that doesn't need a name.